Hello everybody and welcome to the Tom Colohue channel, where today we are going to be talking CM Punk, we're going to be talking WWE releases, the future of NXT EU as it may well be, NXT Asia and NXT UK, and a little update with MJF and Jon Moxley. We will of course also be taking your questions, so any questions you have please do drop them in the chat and we will jump straight in to as many of them as we possibly can along the course of this show. So be sure to hit like, be sure to say hi to each other. Let's jump straight in with the releases and NXT UK. So NXT UK has been parked indefinitely. The plan is to never have the NXT UK brand resurface. The brand's infrastructure will remain the same and we will see it continue, but it will be under a different guise. It will be, of course, under the NXT Europe moniker. As a large part of this, they decided to release a boatload of talent, the idea being that they would take European talent from NXT proper and transfer them over once NXT Europe was ready. So the releases that have happened are essentially the talent that they do not believe will be good enough to make it to the main roster. This is a Nick Khan choice, not necessarily a cost-benefit analysis, because to be entirely blunt, NXT UK didn't cost them very much and made them even less. NXT UK historically has not been profitable, so names as big as Trent Seven are names that WWE officials simply do not believe will ever make the grade. Those who are remaining, such as for example Tyler Bate, will feature on the Worlds Collide show coming in September. They are not going to feature at Clash at the Castle, and in fact a large reason why this has happened now is because with Clash at the Castle so close, there is not much time that either Shawn Michaels or Triple H have to actually sit down and plan NXT UK, the absence of William Regal not doing them any favours. They also have issues with Brexit, that being the UK leaving the EU. This means that a base in the UK is very difficult to maintain. There are added expenses, there are added corporation tax, even though they have shut down their WWE UK subsidiary, and there are struggles getting people into the country from other nations in the European Union. Pardon me. If, for example, instead we had a site in Republic of Ireland who've made a push for it, or Germany, Italy, also a name that's popped up, we are going to get a lot more freedom of movement. We're going to be able to transfer a lot more people and get a lot more people involved. And that's why NXT Europe is likely to be based somewhere other than the UK. The reason that NXT UK survived the pandemic when it wasn't originally supposed to, and thank you yours truly for that report a while back, and I got vilified for it, but it wasn't supposed to, is because they got a cut price deal for the BT Sports studio. Essentially, they didn't have to pay. They only had to pay the talent, and it was still content for the network. Unfortunately, they did not end up with a great TV deal, they did not end up making much money, and they really, really struggled when it comes to actually filling the arenas that they did try and book. Ticket sales, terrible by all accounts. By all accounts, absolutely terrible. This also opens the door for the return of NXT Asia. The WWE are aiming to go continental after I released my video discussing this exact thing. They even released a tweet talking about being continental after I used the word continental, which is always good for little things like those to really prove that I know what I'm talking about. We are going to see more continental aspects. We won't see a North American continental version, but maybe a South American version. We will see the Asian version, and we will see the European version. They have not ruled out NXT Africa, but it's the first I will have heard of it. NXT India, the subcontinent, is likely to still get its own actual subsidiary. I'm going to catch up with the chat a little bit before we continue. Say hi to everyone. Thank you, Wiggly, for your 14th month subscribed. Thank you kindly. Welcome to the show. So I'm going to catch up with the chat, just make sure I haven't missed anything before we go on to CM Punk news. Firstly, I want to say thank you to SBM for becoming a channel supporter. Welcome to the show, and thank you very kindly for submitting that. Please remember, by the way, to hit like. And also, we are currently at 1,499 subscribers. So if you've not yet subscribed, now's the time. One more will get us to 1,500. Just one more. So, James Jones says, to me it seems they're happy with WWE, want to keep paying, not looking good for AEW. I'd imagine that's in response to Steve, who asked a question. I've unfortunately lost the question from Steve. If you hear Steve, please do jump in, but I unfortunately seem to have lost that. Tom Talks Rubbish says, have the best day. Thank you, mate. Our interview airs in 6 days. Wonderful. Wonderful. If you guys want to see an interview with me, you can check out Tom Talks Rubbish channel. Just subscribe now and you'll get it right in your inbox. Tommy B says, just don't get rid of Dragunov, please. Dragunov at the moment is still there and still intact. And Jaden is here, Matthew's here, and Simon is here. Welcome, everybody. Everyone talking about Sasha, which I do not have further news on Sasha. Spider Boss says, hello, Tom. Fightful reported CM Punk almost not appeared on Dynamite. That's true. That is my next piece of news. Spider Boss also says, Shawn Michaels confirmed Gigi Dolan and JC Jane will replace Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark in the women's tag team tournament. He did indeed. Spider Boss says, with half of Toxic Attraction in the women's tag team tournament, does Io and Dakota still win? Yes. Because Triple H is not the same as Vince in that he will just make a snap decision like, oh no, I'm going to change everything. No, he already had a plan before he announced the brackets. Michael says, hi Tom. Hello Michael, how you doing? And Sean says, hi Tom. Sad to hear about Mark Andrews and Xia Brookside. I like them. Me too, mate. I know quite a lot of people who wrestled in NXT UK. It's very disappointing what's happened there. Very disappointing. Spider-Boss says Sasha got robbed her hair products in Oakland this week. She did. It sucks. It really does. She was able to literally see the footage of it and they will catch the guy, but still, it's not nice, is it? Alpha says, how are Colohue tonight? Oh, God. Wow. We are historically terrible with puns and that just takes the biscuit. I'm good, thank you. I've got Cherry Coke again, which means my life is amazing. Moxie says, acknowledge me. Consider yourself seen. I see your name. Girl says, hello, Tom and chat. Hope everyone is doing well today. Hopefully they are. I personally am doing very, very well indeed. Spider-Boss says, I don't see what Blair Davenport is all about now in NXT. Well, I believe she's still there. She'll come up to NXT proper. Moxie says, is it true we're getting Toxic Attraction versus Natalya and Sonya? Yes, it is. PJ says hi. Hello, PJ. And Noob says hello, Tom. Hello, everybody. Simon, no DQ is not reporting that. No DQ is just reporting that Meltzer is reporting that. There is a difference. Wiggly says, what ticket sales are terrible? NXT UK. Before they cancelled, they weren't able to shift anywhere. Johnny says, hi Tom, how you doing, mate? Is Hunter's plan from 2018 with performance centres in NXT around the world global localisation still going with NXT Europe as a first step? Yes, it is, but it is a little smaller. The original plan for global localisation was NXT UK, NXT India, NXT Germany, NXT Brazil, NXT Argentina, and so on and so forth. There was talk of NXT Ivory Coast, for example. And it would be just basically 100 different developmental areas feeding into the WWE proper, and each of them would have a TV deal in their own country. So they'd get viewers in their own country. Hasn't quite panned out like that, so they've had to cut their losses a little bit. Sai's here, welcome Sai. Says, hi Tom and all, congrats on the 1.5k. Has not happened yet. Has not happened yet. I'm still waiting on another subscriber to reach 1500. I stand corrected. I've just reached 1500. It has happened. Thank you for congratulations, and thank you, the one person who subscribed. Simon says, what's your opinion on all CM Punk? I will get to that drama shortly. Seven says, Shawn Michaels now promoted Vice President of Talent Development Creative. Yep, he's going to be in charge of NXT Europe as well, with a team under him. Sean says, my toes curl thinking about Gunter versus Sheamus. Why? I'm excited about that as a prospect. Big Skull Nick says, Tom, when do you think we'll see The Fiend? It depends if he signs a new deal yet. That would have to happen first. Wiggly says, I got a new Bret Hart belt. Always a good shout. King Zandy says, is Aaliyah James still part of the roster? I don't know. I haven't seen her name mentioned yet. Nelson says, do you think most of the UK releases come back for NXT Europe? No. I don't know why they would keep some people and let go of others if they're going to come back. I don't see them coming back. Steven says, Toxic Attraction might be getting drafted to the main roster. Not yet, they're not. Sean says, apparently Zoe was injured during her match with Mandy and Nikita isn't medically cleared, which is why they were removed. That's what I'm hearing. Yes. Noob says, Subculture, the group from NXT UK, so South Wales Subculture, are calling out everyone from AEW. They'll call out whoever the hell they want. Simon says, is Meiko Satomura staying with the company? Yes, she is. For now, as a trainer for NXT Europe. Spider-Boss says, your thoughts on Casemiro signing Man United? It was only ever a matter of time before Man United actually worked out how to play the way that they've been asked to play. I think back to when Liverpool took on West Brom at the start of the Brendan Rodgers era and got smashed. It's much like that. Casemiro will be a big help. Chad, welcome, says, can't wait to get a hard on tonight seeing GG. You disgust me as a human being, Chad. If that's literally how you define the people on your TV. Yeah, she's a beautiful woman. But if your entire personality is based on saying shit like that on the internet, you really have no purpose in life, and I won't be engaging you in any way, shape or form further. Sean said Blair was in a segment with Indy on NXT this week. Blair Davenport has already moved across to the US. Moxie says Roman's back tonight. There's a lot going on tonight. Devon Pierce saying, proving the point, there's a fatal five-way in to determine Gunter's next opponent featuring Happy Corbin versus... Pardon me. There will be more of that later, I'm sure. I'd say Madcap Moss is in with a shout there. Pardon me. As Gunter is a heel at the moment, Madcap Moss for me is definitely another shout. Ofa says, every week I push myself to watch these damn early morning shows, but spoiler warning, watch along, make it all worth it. I try my best, thank you very much, that's a really nice thing to say. Camel says, hello Tom, hope you're doing well today. Doing very well, thank you, doing very well. And Spider-Boss says, did CM Punk mentioning Hangman Page? I will talk about CM Punk shortly. Seven says, Carmelo Hayes might drop that belt before he gets drafted to the main roster and join the Hit Row stable. That's completely a random theory that people have online. There's been no suggestion of it as of yet. David Leary says, Tom, is there an internal date? Month for the start of NXT Europe. Nope. They are not planning to revisit NXT Europe until everything is involved. Well, the infrastructure is all in place. That is likely to take until at least January, but they have not set any sort of date. NXT Portsmouth, why not, Ofa? Why not? Devon says, does this mean we could likely see Meiko versus Sasha? You're making a number of assumptions on top of assumptions there, Devon. There is as high a likelihood now of Meiko versus Sasha as there was 2 weeks ago of Meiko versus Sasha. Nothing has changed in that regard. Roxy says, Tom, I just noticed you're 10 followers away from 500 on Twitch. Wonderful. I did get a couple more over the course of the last few days. It'd be nice to reach 500. That would be lovely. Wiggly says, no news on a fan access event. I assume it's only for those who buy the VIP tickets. You've asked this every single show, Wiggly, and I still have no idea. Sid says, congrats on 1.5k. Thank you very much, Sid. We've gained more than 250 subscribers in the last month. Nearly 200 in the last 19 days. It's a wonderful, wonderful time to be Tom Colohue, I'll tell you that. And it's mostly thanks to you guys doing it. Every like, every subscription, every single thing you say in the chat massively boosts the advertising that YouTube gives to this show. It's why when I had like 200 people in here and they were all chatting away, yeah, it was tough to keep up with, but that's why I had 200 people in here, because everyone was just constantly saying stuff. Right now the chat rate, for example, is at 4. And when we were at our busiest, it was at 14. Hector says, could this mean potentially takeover like pay-per-views in the likes of France, Germany, maybe even Austria if this is going to be NXT Europe? Yeah, that's exactly correct. Keith O'Toole says, I was shocked when Omega returned on Wednesday. I was wondering if he would come back to AEW. At least we got our answer. He was always going to come back to AEW. There was never an alternative to that. He was always coming back. Joey says, did they get released because they didn't want to move to the US? No, they got released because the WWE wanted to release them. Kingsander says, Zaya Brookside getting released is very strange. She was so good. She was indeed. Someone in the WWE did not like the idea of keeping her. Thomas says, hi Tom. Hi Thomas. Do you think WWE hold off for Sasha and Naomi until Clash, or do you think they return before? I think they return after. I think getting them flown over to the UK and still having them be a surprise is damn near impossible. Sean says, thoughts on Cora defeating Roxanne. Still don't see it happening. Wiggly said, weird question. I was going to buy an Attitude Era belt for about $260 to get Jericho to sign. Thinking, would a Jericho belt really have a lot of resale value? I mean, he's a legend, yes, but was he truly iconic? Like, say, a HBK or a Bret or Austin or Rock. Where do you put Jericho among the greats? I wouldn't put him amongst that particular category, but I put him just below that. I put him up there with Ric Flair, who I do put below Bret Hart. Maybe it's a generational thing, but I do. Jaden says, do you think Triple H will push Hit Row? Could they beat the Usos down the road for the titles? Okay. Here's the thing. Anything is possible. Anything is on the table. However, you're asking a lot, and I really hope you're able to stay calm, because we can't guarantee anything like that is going to happen. Johnny says, when NXT Europe launches with Sean taking control of it, does Hunter take back NXT USA? Nope. Sean will be in full control of NXT in total. Triple H is doing way too much to be in control of NXT. Triple H has had to walk away from NXT. Spider Boss says, I want to see the reaction that Gigi Dolan and JC Jane get on SmackDown. They should get one, they just won't get a huge one. Joey says, there's a UK talent that didn't get released staying in NXT US permanently. Possibly. It's also possible that they'll compete at Worlds Collide and then they'll also be fired. That's what I do, Ofa. That's what I do. Simon says, are we getting Mako versus Mandy at Worlds Collide like we're getting Bate versus Braun? Is Mako the current women's champion in NXT UK? Because if so, probably. Camo says, any update on Sasha? Nope. I've given you exactly what the updates are. I've told you exactly when I expect her back, and I've told you that the deal has been signed. No one else has given you the amount of information that I have, all of which has been proven accurate about Sasha Banks and Naomi. Unfortunately, I don't have any more at this point. But maybe if you ask that of another channel, for example, they'll be able to give you some more, but it would be the stuff I've already given you. Moxie says, imagine if Paul Heyman managed to heel Madcap who is serious and wants to destroy everyone. So Brock Lesnar then. It sounds like there'd be no difference in their characters. Joey says, I'm guessing they have a big roster planned for NXT EU. Not necessarily a big roster, but a roster about the size of NXT UK. As I say, there's a number of people currently in NXT proper that they'll be shifting sideways. John Wink says, Marley getting released makes no sense because she fits into the NXT Europe plan. No, she didn't. If she fit into the plan, they wouldn't have fired her. King Xander says, why would Carmelo join Hit Row? Stop putting all non-white people in the same group. I've mentioned that as well myself. I reported a while back that MVP had no interest in remaking the Nation of Domination. Triple H is not a fan of nationalist groups like that, so we're not likely to see it. But there is actually some history of Carmelo and Hit Row. Just so you know, there is actually some history there. Moneymaker says, I don't get the point of booking a match between two heel teams in a tournament. TA versus Toxic Attraction versus Natalya and Sonya are all heels. Why are you booking a face team to go against Natalya and Sonya? Because they don't really have other face teams. They're just trying to make it exciting by introducing some new people. This is a good thing. Ghost says, is WWE mentioned this being the 1200th episode of SmackDown a last minute discovery, or does it actually have a purpose? Yep, they're trying to build as much focus and attention as possible. It's literally just a marketing trick. Spiderboss says, Top Dollar from Hit Row mentioned on Twitter that they will not accept other people just to be black wrestlers, and he is correct. Sean says, NXT spoiled the result of the UK Championship tournament. Yeah. Because nobody cares about NXT UK, and they know that. Jade and Charlotte didn't really talk about Sasha and Naomi. In fact, when you say she talked about them, what actually happened was pretty much the exact opposite. I'm going to pause catching up with the chat now and talk about CM Punk. This is actually going to be quite AEW heavy, this particular show. So, CM Punk, you'll never have guessed, is not particularly happy in AEW. After about a year with the company, he's starting to realise he's not considered the jewel in the crown. In fact, there's a number of different things that he really hasn't enjoyed, and he doesn't feel that he's getting the support from Tony Khan at the moment. He's also seen what happened with MJF, for example, and he really likes what's happening there, because let's just say a lot of people are bending over backwards for MJF. This also ties into what's going on with Jon Moxley, because Jon Moxley is in negotiations for a new contract at this point, and Jon Moxley's been told, we can't give you that much. Well, if that's the case, then certainly they're not giving CM Punk the raise that he is looking for. CM Punk is a current AEW World Champion. There are question marks about potential backstage politics in order to win that championship, to be completely blunt and completely honest. But CM Punk is one of many people who are not happy backstage in AEW. The door has also definitively closed at this point. Definitively closed on a return to the WWE. Vince McMahon was interested. Triple H is not interested in the slightest in a return for CM Punk. As regards MJF, there is a little more news. I've said for a while, when the report came out that he hadn't been speaking to anyone in AEW, I said at the time, that ain't true. It ain't true. There's been a constant contract negotiation ongoing, and he is expected to sign a deal and return shortly. This news does come from AEW rather than MJF, and I want to make that clear, because this is what AEW believe, not necessarily the man himself. We currently have 77 viewers and only 19 likes. Please do remember to hit that thumbs up if you can. Also, just before we continue, Sai has offered something a little bit special for channel members. So, for example, if you are a channel member or planning on becoming a channel member soon, if you renew your channel membership, and then I will keep track of that and let Sai know, Sai has offered to make, for example, a small custom avatar for channel members. It would be absolutely free. It would just be a perk of channel membership. So if you renew your channel membership, or simply are a channel member up until the end of this month, you should expect that if you contact Sai, or in fact contact me, you can get yourself a little custom graphic, a little custom avatar made. Now Sai is here and can talk further on this if you'd like to, Sai, or correct me if I'm wrong in any way, shape or form there. But I really do think this is a fantastic little perk and just a nice little way of rewarding people who are loyal. Loyal's the wrong word. Who are regular here and who are able to go that little bit further with their support. I am really grateful for everyone who joins us here, and in no way am I saying to people you ever have to become a member, because that's never going to be a thing. You're always going to get the news for free. Channel membership should come with perks. Sai has offered a really exciting one here. So if you're interested in that, please do say so. Derek says, what about Canada? Canada's part of North America. That's covered by NXT proper. Bailey says, Tom, what's the financial savings from the NXT UK cuts, if any, to the WWE? Minuscule. Real minuscule. The people from NXT UK, as in the wrestlers themselves, did not make a lot of money. And because they didn't make a lot of money, it doesn't really save very much to get rid of them. What they're saving most is just the operating costs. So storage of the equipment will be moved to a European site where it will be cheaper, because the UK is the most expensive place in the world right now. It's not actually, but you get what I mean. And there'll be other operating costs, such as staff based entirely in the UK who transport the technology and set up the software and make the videos and so on and so forth. That'll be mostly what they save. Noob says, Stevie Turner from NXT UK might possibly be released from WWE or staying in WWE. Haven't heard anything on that front. I do believe those that have been released have been very public about it. So if you haven't seen Stevie Turner say, I've been released, chances are they haven't. Keith says, I'd like to see the general managers back on each show. There's not been one since Kurt Angle on Raw in 2017. I miss Paige. I think Paige was a perfect general manager, particularly on SmackDown. But, you know, it is what it is. Ofer says, I feel like Hit Row versus Street Profits would tear the roof off. I've not seen enough of Hit Row. That, I feel, is the issue as much as anything. I've not seen them wrestle more than like 3 minutes. I want to see more before I'm confident saying they'll tear the roof off and so on and so forth. Jaden says, do you think Mandy will be there at SmackDown? Yes. Moxie says, if Mandy comes out tonight at SmackDown, I feel like she'll get a pop. She will. Spider-Boss says, who do you see beating Mandy for the title? Roxanne, still. Michael says, Naomi's friend said yesterday she's turned down acting gigs, so maybe there has been some Hollywood interest. Maybe indeed there has. That's a very fair point. Camo God says, thanks mate. When could you see Karrion Kross's first match? His first proper match I expect to be Extreme Rules. And I expect it to be against Drew McIntyre, taking Drew McIntyre out. Rosal says, assuming the draft is happening soon, who are the top people you see switching brands, if any, between Becky, Seth, Roman, Drew, Bianca, etc.? I think some of the bigger names will be Randy Orton moving back to SmackDown, Kevin Owens moving to SmackDown, and a strong possibility of Bayley and her faction moving to SmackDown. Going to Raw, I don't see that many big names, but I do think Drew needs a... Pardon me. I do think Drew needs a bit of a reset, so going to Raw could be very beneficial for him. Wiggly says, would you personally think it's worth getting a belt just for Jericho? Yeah. Absolutely. You've got to remember, it's not about who's most popular as to how much a belt will sell for example. It's also just basically about the fact that if you find the right person, it'll be worth the world. The world. Johnny says, Meltzer was reporting their skepticism because of the releases, and he thinks WWE isn't actually planning for NXT Europe and just wanted to cover shutting down NXT UK. I assume this is false. It is. There is every plan for NXT UK and every plan for NXT Asia. All of this is in the works. Now, I can't sit here and say it's guaranteed, but there's a reason I haven't been touching this one. Meltzer, after all, is another one of those who sort of came after me when I reported about NXT looking at ways to shut down previously. This was, of course, during the pandemic that I reported this, before they had the deal in place with BT Sport. A lot of people came after me for that one. A lot of people just been proven wrong. King Xander says, WXW in Germany about to be raided. They're the best talent in Europe outside the UK. I think very much the same. I've seen a lot of very talented wrestlers come through there. Keith O'Toole says, I wonder what Survivor Series is going to be like in November. Hard to say. Triple H definitely planned something very different from what we've seen so far. Spider-Boss says, I actually truly like how good have been the women's tag team tournament, and even better to come. Formath, interesting. I don't want to see Velveteen Dream ever wrestle again. Leo Rush, maybe, I could see that. Enzo can go to hell, and Cass, maybe. Cass has actually tried. Enzo has not. That's the big difference. Sean says, Alexa was asked on the Mac Mania podcast if she retired today, would she be in the Hall of Fame? She said yes on paper, but it depends on the class. It does. I do feel she has the credentials for it, but if she was in, for example, the same class as Becky Lynch, nah, mate. Will says, how do you think Vince feels about the oral takeover again? Since a few months ago they pulled out of NXT Asian. Oral takeover? I don't know what you mean by oral takeover. Oral just means like saying it. Also, yes, they did pull out of NXT Asia after a long time of building it. That is, of course, why Kairi Sane was still under contract, reported exclusively right here on the Tom Colohue channel. It's nice every now and then to lean back on the old credential, I'll tell you that. But Vince McMahon, to my knowledge, isn't really paying that much attention. Michael says, I could do without Punk. I hope he leaves. Very possible he does. If you've heard Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure, which is my show on the PWTorch VIP network, you will likely be aware that I've several times referred to CM Punk as a flight risk. I stand by that. And if anything, this is really proving that point. We are currently still at 1,500 subscribers, meaning so far we have gained one new subscriber. If you are currently watching and you have not yet subscribed, please do consider doing so. We are growing at an incredible rate, and it is largely thanks to the people chatting, hitting like, and subscribing here. Keith O'Toole says, I heard MJS coming back to AEW. Don't know if this is a rumour, but that's apparently happening. It is a rumour. Came from Dave Meltzer, which means it is a rumour. Also, it's a very open-ended rumour. It's not exactly clear of what he's actually saying here. Let's be completely honest there. But as regards this and as regards the MJF return, I have been reporting for a while that there's been ongoing contract negotiations. That is still the case. The expectation is that we will see him return shortly. Joey says, did Jon Moxley sign a new contract or is it coming up soon? Been and gone, mate. Been and gone. His contract has expired. He's currently working on a handshake deal. Hassan says hi there. Hello, Hassan. James Jones says, with CM Punk also not surprised. He has a history of doing this. Nothing new. Everywhere he goes starts a hard backstage politics. Indeed, he does. Spider-Boss says, I was surprised when I heard the CM Punk news. Flight risk, of course, we also have the fact that he's badmouthed AEW before. After turning down a contract offer, he embarrassed them and then signed with them. Sean says, could this drama with Punk be because he doesn't want to lose to Moxley? Very possible, but also with Moxley's contract where it is at the moment, he was supposed to be losing to Punk. Girl says, I do not expect you to answer this question, so there's a shot in the dark. Have there been any updates on Jeff Hardy lately? I truly do hope he's doing alright while in treatment. I have heard some small snippets. Really, all I've heard is that he's doing okay. Beyond that, I can't say much. Just that he's apparently doing okay. He's recovering well enough, and AEW are leaving the door open for him to return. Joey says, are they keeping the NXT UK title, or will it be merged with the NXT Championship? Most likely scenario right now is that we're going to see a merge, the NXT UK and the NXT Championship proper. Of course, the NXT Championship is the one that will vanish, but they'll remodel it into the NXT Europe Championship when they launch that. Will says, it is funny how just a few months ago WWE Locker Room wasn't having the best times, and now it seems like AEW is having the same. Indeed. The grass is always greener, and with Triple H in the ascendancy now, it's a very, very different place than it was when AEW was at its heyday. When AEW brought in CM Punk, they brought in Bryan Danielson, they brought in Adam Cole, their momentum was incredible. That is simply no longer the case. Sai does clarify, says, yep, sure, happy to do you an avatar if you're a member. Do graphics for a living, but you get it for free. Just let me know if you have any ideas, colour, wrestler, whatever, and I'll get on it. Simon immediately jumps in and says, Sasha. What a surprise. Keith Randy Orton's currently injured. He's expected back near the end of this year, beginning of next year. Hector says, I don't like seeing anyone lose their jobs, but this move is going to make WWE a hell of a lot of money. Say what you will, but Nick Khan is a very smart businessman. He is a very smart businessman. I don't necessarily think it's going to make them that much money. Joey says, who do you see getting called up from NXT in the draft besides Santos Escobar? Braun Breaker, Toxic Attraction. Same as I've said a few times now. Moxie says, maybe we get a Sonya and Mandy face-off. We will. Spider-Boss says, if Randy goes to SmackDown, could Riddle do the same? Yeah. Moneymaker, you are not the only fan in the world. Billy, welcome. Says, on the mic, yeah, Hit Row and Street Profits could be entertaining. Now that I can agree with, because I've at least heard Hit Row. So I can definitely agree with that. Kingsander says, give me Io and Kota on SmackDown so I can get my Sasha match. May or may not be happening. Noob says, do you think the Asuka and Alexa versus Sky and Kai match on Monday ends in a random finish like a no contest or double countout? No, I think Dakota Kai and Io Sky beat Asuka and Alexa, adding more fuel to the Clash of the Castle fire. Spiderboss says, AEW fans think CM Punk's situation in AEW is a work. They also said that about Cody and Kenny and MJF. Apparently everything's a work now. Sai says, CM Punk's troubles make me think. Is there anyone with a bad relationship with Triple H who absolutely wouldn't touch for a WWE return? Punk and Hogan strike me as two. Punk and Hogan are definitely two people that we are not going to see on WWE programming under Triple H. There are a number of others. One of them, Goldberg. Very unlikely we ever see Goldberg on WWE TV again. Tommy says WWE should bring back Braun to have a match with Gunther. Now, Triple H does like Braun Strowman. However, Braun Strowman has not reduced his wage requests, so not going to happen. Spider-Boss says, if Big Cass ever returns to WWE, I want to see Big Cass versus Corey Graves. We still can't be sure that Corey Graves is cleared, because there's still been no evidence of it whatsoever. Jay Quick says, do you think they bring back the European title for NXT Europe? Nope, I think they introduce a completely new European Championship. People are really obsessed with the nostalgia of let's bring back this, let's bring back that. No, they'll make something new. OG Crush says, who's gotten released now? A whole lot of people from NXT UK. Spiderboss says, who do you see winning, CM Punk or Moxley? Well, I think CM Punk might not want to cooperate. I do believe he's supposed to win it though. Jay Quick says, what's ironic is Punk walked out of WWE in Cleveland. AEW is in Cleveland this Wednesday. Oh, there's a bit of full circle there, isn't there? There's a bit of full circle. Moneymaker says, what show do you think Sasha and Naomi will be on when they return? SmackDown. And Billy says, once a crybaby, always a crybaby for the CM Punk situation. Bailey says Triple H had made a lot of changes at lightning speed with little or no prep time that he would be taking over. That said, and this is all speculation, was Vince's departure in progress well before the public announcement? Nope. No, it was not. It absolutely was not. A lot of people think that, but what you've got to consider, yes, Triple H has made a lot of changes, but also he hasn't been involved in everything. You also have to consider the fact that a lot of the changes made were made by Nick Khan and Stephanie. Nick Khan and Stephanie have been completely forgotten just because it's Triple H, but they've also been making changes here. Joey says, it seems like the backstage environment is bad in AEW, with the reports of bad communication with Tony Khan and this CM Punk situation. I always think back to the injury to Matt Hardy. That was some bad communication. I think back to the handling of the Jeff Hardy situation. That was bad communication. Everything with MJF. That was bad communication. Wiggly says, my 2 cents worth on the Punk matter. Clearly realises he's a big fish in a small pond and wants out, but would Triple H and WWE really say no to him? Yes. He's still very popular and would draw attention. but should he walk, surely this smacks of CM Punk's ego getting the better of him and doesn't reflect well on him. No interest whatsoever from Triple H in working with CM Punk ever again. Moneymaker says, you think we will get our first War Games match on the main roster at Survivor Series with Triple H in charge now? Yes, I do. There are already discussions about getting War Games into Survivor Series. It's just not necessarily going to happen this year. Austin says, who wins, Bates or Breaker? Probably Bate, because they want Breaker on the main roster. Wiggly says, could AEW be finished within 2 years? There is absolutely no way that I can answer that question. Johnny says, there was rumours of WWE selling. Do you see this happening, or is it more likely Vince sells his shares to Steph, Hunter, or maybe Nick Khan? No, and no. Vince McMahon makes a lot of money from his shares and does absolutely nothing to earn it, so why would he actually sell those? There is literally no reason that Vince would sell any of his shares. He has no interest whatsoever, none whatsoever, in making that happen. And there has been rumours of WWE selling for the past 5 years at least that I'm aware of. Hasn't happened yet. Wiggly, yeah, unfortunately, Wiggly, your membership is no longer valid over on the YouTube side. You can either, by all means, renew that, or maybe someone does a gift, because I think it was a gift, or did you... I know you subscribe on Twitch. You've done that earlier, so honestly, as far as I'm concerned, I'm more than happy to do that. I'll talk to Sai about it. It's up to him, ultimately, but... I mean, you do subscribe, you just do it on a different platform. Spider-Boss says, CM Punk and backstage problems. History could repeat again. Punk walked out of WWE because he had problems. He did. Brandon says, AEW haven't been the same ever since they lost Cody Rhodes. That's very, very true. They've attacked the WWE a lot less. Welcome, Brandon. How you doing, mate? Daz says, big up, Tom. Any news on Clash pay-per-view matches regarding Seth? Clash pay-per-view will be Seth versus Matt Riddle, and I think Seth Rollins is on a much stronger chance of winning this time round. Thomas says, do you see any surprise returns happening during the draft? If I told you, it would not be a surprise, would it? Kieran, welcome, says, evening, looking forward to the SmackDown watch along again. Great to hear, mate, great to hear. I'm looking forward to hosting it for you. Matthew Ham says, any news on Clash matches that have not been announced? Nothing at the moment. Triple H, as I've said, likes to work with a smaller roster. So the Clash matches that we've got at the minute will be most of them, but we will see a new challenger for Gunter going forwards. Spider-Boss says, I see Gigi Dolan and JC versus Io and Dakota in the final of the women's tag team tournament. I personally don't. I think it'll be Raquel and Aaliyah. Jay Quick says, do you think when WWE TV rights come up, they could end up streaming Raw and SmackDown? Nope, because that would mean a hell of a lot of money right out of their pockets. More likely they both end up on Fox. Wiggly says, I mean, hell has frozen over before, so CM Punk could return? Everything is on the table. No. Simon says, your scores prediction for City versus Newcastle? City win 2-0. For Liverpool versus Man United, I'm going to go Liverpool 3, Man United 1. I wouldn't necessarily go that way given our form recently, but Man United are just that damn bad. Drew Brandon, Punk does not like Triple H. Connor has gifted 5 memberships for the channel. Firstly, hi Connor, how you doing, mate? Hi Connor, can you... I don't know if you're awake. But Connor has gifted 5 new channel memberships to the channel. If you do have the opt-in activated, that means you will get a free channel subscription, one of 5 that are currently waiting in limbo. For example, Wiggly, if you pop back over to YouTube now and click opt-in at the top, get a brand new free membership. Thank you. Thank you very much, Connor, for your generosity there. I really do appreciate it. Will says, it's funny how CM Punk is a Bret Hart fan, but he acts more like Shawn Michaels and Triple H in the 90s and 2000s with his politics. Yeah, I'm a Bret Hart fan. That doesn't mean I act like Bret Hart. That's a big ask. Tommy says, I'm pumped for SmackDown. Triple H era made me 10 times more excited for Raw and SmackDown and NXT. Simon says, wasn't Strowman on 1.5 million? Yes, he was. King's Andy says, even if he's cleared, I don't want to see Graves wrestle. Watched enough of him in 2012 to know his average at best. I would not know. Jaden has taken one of those memberships. BM, if you scroll to the top of the chat, there is an option there, just literally the very top of the chat, to opt in. Jaden has taken one of the gifted memberships. David Hooper as well has received a gifted membership from Connor, and Patrick Wendell has also received a membership. That does entitle you, if you speak to Sai, to one of those custom avatars as well. There are still 2 memberships waiting in limbo should anybody like to receive them. Thank you again, Connor. And please, everyone receiving them, remember to thank Connor as well. James says, AEW fans have been saying that also can't handle the real life issues. Yeah, but they think it's a work, so there isn't any. Spider-Boss says, what irony that CM Punk became all he despised in the past. I mean, you always live long enough to become the villain. CM Punk has become the New York Yankees. BM, unfortunately then, I'm not sure what to tell you. I know that there's like an option that you do have to select at some point. Beyond that, I obviously can't opt in myself. So, Patrick, Jade and David, do you want to have a quick talk with BM and let people know how to do that? Jeffrey Cassidy has gained a gifted membership. That means there is one, just the one, left in limbo. Rizal says, what happened between Triple H and Hulk Hogan? I know about Hogan's horrible comments. Is it because of that or something else? It's because of that. It's very much because of that. Joey says, do you think Raw and SmackDown's roster will see a lot of changes after Clash of the Castle? Yes, because there'll be a draft. Johnny says, with the NXT Europe news, will NXT 2.0 get a rebrand of any sort? Alvarez reported the Worlds Collide will be a takeover style of show. It will be, well, like the one we saw before the pandemic kicked in. 2.0 will get a rebrand, but it will not be a huge rebrand. It'll be not that noticeable. Austin says, why Zoe Nikita got replaced? There are question marks about the vaccination status of Nikita Lyons. I'll say that. Sean says, Cora did defeat Roxanne in NXT Heatwave this week. I was asking your opinion on that. Oh, right. Fair enough. I have no idea. I haven't seen it. I unfortunately do not have the time to watch all of the wrestling shows. There's a lot of wrestling shows. Spider-Boss says, Triple H's promo on Punk in 2011 kind of still living rent-free. Brandon says, Princeton not planned to retire at all. If it wasn't for the scandals, Vince would be here. That's true. If it wasn't for the scandals, Vince would indeed be here still. King Xander says, if you had told Charles to me the two guys who used to Wedgie Cole be in charge of WWE, I'd have laughed in your face. Unreal development. If you'd have said to me that one of the biggest movie stars in the world would be the guy who called Michael Cole a hermaphrodite. Same thing. Austin says, is it true Khan wanted Raw and SmackDown on Netflix? No. No, he likes money. James says, with MJF, I'm not sold on it. I was Vegas and paid 100 to meet MJF, while others paid 100 to 200 to pick some more and refunded all of us who paid. I really do believe him and TK will never reach a deal. Well, that's very much up to the discussion that is currently ongoing. Thank you very much, James, for opting in and receiving that final free channel membership. Thank you, everyone, for that. And thank you, once again, Connor. Wiggly says, so we're never going to see Goldberg again in WWE? Very, very unlikely, yes. King Xander says, on a basic level, Vince committed embezzlement. He did. So why can't they force him out fully? You can't force someone to sell their shares. That's not something you can do. Sean says, seems like AJ Lee's the better of the two. She said good things about the company and that Vince told her she's welcome back any time. Would this be the same for Triple H? Yes. However, and I'm going to be really blunt here, the second AJ Lee returns to the WWE, she walks out. Let's light it up. CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk, CM Punk. The fans will be fucking dickheads to her. On the basis of her being there, they will simply chant for her husband and completely ignore the fact that she exists. We all know it. Brandon says, for the last 20 years, they said they've been selling. True. Wiggly says, losing Cody Rhodes was a huge blow for AEW. A bigger one with losing MJF to WWE and Punk walking out. I don't think it was that big a blow. I don't think they missed him that much. Wiggly says, if two out of Punk, MJF and Moxley leave and go to WWE, I think that's really it for AEW. Moxley, certainly, there are questions about. The most likely there. MJF still has a while left in his contract, so even if he did want to, he couldn't. Punk, however, flight risk. Devon says, do you know a date being discussed for the draft? Late September, early October is what I've been saying for a while. I don't have any further clarification on it, unfortunately. James says, no company wants to lose money. There's thousands of us they refunded it. Kind of hard to come to deal if you want to hear all offers. That says, what's the card for tonight? Please also, do you know anybody who streams boxing, Tom? I do not know anyone who streams boxing. The card is available on the WWE website. Jaden says, I'm also subscribed on Twitch. Does that count? That's up to Sai. That's entirely up to Sai. Like I say, that's entirely up to Sai. Sean says, why wouldn't USA renew Raw if they don't want USA lose NXT also? They could lose NXT also if they don't want Raw. But as I say, it's not necessarily up to just USA. The WWE can say, nah. Fox gives them more money. That's a fact. Spider-Boss says, do you see Cristiano Ronaldo staying at Man United? Yes. And that's not a good thing. I will do more research because it seems like there is some confusion about the gifted subs. Like Kieran, I can see you say you've opted in. It looks like a few of you were having issues. So I'll do some more research for next time there are any gifted memberships. Thomas says, at this moment in time, which match do you feel will be the best match on Clash? The women's 6-woman tag match. AEW fan says, would you be down for Bray, Braun and Cross, a new Wyatt family? Nope, I don't think that works. Braun never really fit the Wyatt family for me, and Cross is much better separate. Connor says, got to keep Sai busy. I mean, you're not wrong. Will says, when it comes to the women's division, when it comes to NXT, AEW and SmackDown, does Triple H have a different vision for them than Vince did? Yeah. Oh, that was meant to be Raw. Got it. Yeah, he does. And we are seeing that in action. I'll get to you, Simon. Don't worry, I'm just slightly behind. There we go. Simon says, I think Man United will win 2-1. Best of luck to you, mate. Spiderboss says, one of my friends says Punk became a modern Hulk Hogan of WCW. Yep. AEW basically became WCW. The launch of Thunder sort of said that. AEW fans says, is it possible people jump the gun on the draft? It's always in October. Depends what you mean by jump the gun. It's not necessarily always in October, but it is usually in around October. Simon, I'll wait and see if that actually happens. Noob says, I thought CM Punk would change AEW, but instead he still can't get over the past. He can't let go of the past, especially in WWE. Yep. He's still grumpy. Hector says, if you saying you think Tyler Bate going over Braun, which means WWE likely sees him as a star beyond NXT, do you also feel that way or no? Yeah. But not now. Once he goes to the main roster, then they'll look at that. AW fan says, any plans to make Jay White a face of NXT Europe? No plans whatsoever, because he's not under contract for the WWE, so how can they? Couldn't tell you, Michael. Couldn't tell you, unfortunately. Can't give you an exact date, but I know they'll be announcing it shortly after. Randall says, Tom, what do you prefer, WWE or AEW? WWE. When I turn on AEW, I don't know what's going on, basically. Spiderboss says, I see the Cora versus Roxanne rivalry keep going until a third match of Roxanne coming out as the winner. Probably. I mean, why not? You've got to kill time somehow. Joey says, do you think NXT 2.0 will be treated as a third brand instead of being a developmental show? Yes and no. It is a developmental show, and Triple H not being directly involved will keep it in that position. However, it is likely to be involved in Survivor Series this year. Simon says, do you think Triple H will re-sign Taya Valkyrie? Nope. Patrick says, when do you think we see Charlotte? Soon. AW fan says, who would you put against Gunter at Mania? Might it be Dragunov, given his first loss full circle? That could be cool. I'd like that as a concept. It's not a WrestleMania match, though. It is not a WrestleMania match. I'd put him against Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. That says, do you think Sting should return to WWE? Nope. AW fan says, any word who the talent in AW reached out to while under contract? No word. To be clear, if I had a name, then that would only fuel the fire for a lawsuit. Says, do you think Brock deserves a big retirement match? Or was Roman the perfect end? We will see Brock again shortly, don't you worry. Jaden says, Tom, do you think Sasha signed her deal? You may want to watch the last show that I did on Monday, Jaden. There's a lot of information about that. Spiderboss says, do you see Moxley returning to WWE if he doesn't re-sign of AEW? Yep. Johnny says, Michael said that from now on, there'll be a balance between independent talent and athletes, which you reported first. Others are reporting they only want athletes still. Yep. That is true. I did report that first. There's not much more I can say about that. I report the news that I report, and I'm very, very proud of what I'm able to achieve. What I've been able to make happen here. I'm also very happy to say that you guys get the benefit of it. So my news doesn't go out and about, as it were. It doesn't go walkabouts. That means it doesn't get misquoted. It means it doesn't get stolen, etc. And it means that if you want the news, you have to come here. Now, that's not the first thing that I've said over the last few shows that's already been proven true. I mean, I've basically been walking you through everything going on with Sasha and Naomi, pretty much as it happened. So I do suggest that if you're not a regular here, try it. Have a catch up. It'll be worth it. Subscribe. It'll be worth it. I'm not a fan of boxing, Kieran. I just don't watch enough of it. Tommy says, I bet Triple H doesn't rip up the script like Vince did. That's also why the shows are so good now, or part of the reason they're better now. Yep, absolutely. The fact that we have the replacement of Toxic Attraction doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. The most likely scenario is not that they will win anything. Simon says, Tom, have you watched Charlotte's Stone Cold interview? If so, what's your opinion on it? Haven't watched all of it, watched some clips. I think it's about as honest as Charlotte Flair gets. So I said, I didn't catch you asked, but if you're a paid member on Twitch, I'll do an avatar. Hit me up on Twitter at sarcasminfusey1. Also, Simon, check your Twitter DMs. So, yes, by all means, just make sure to follow Sai on Twitter, and we'll make things happen for you. Oh, Jaden's also subscribed to YouTube. I didn't know you weren't subscribed, Jaden. Wow. Cool. Brandon says, didn't know why AEW took the belt off CM Punk when he went down with injury. That would have been a smart thing to do. Would have been. But they want to be different. Sean says, how can Dexter make his in-ring debut on Raw if he keeps getting arrested? Great question. Spider-Boss says, it's funny that some of friends see Roman losing a Clash of the Castle. Roman is unstoppable. Yeah, Roman's not losing a Clash of the Castle. Hi, SPM. How you doing? Thank you for becoming a channel supporter earlier. Welcome to the show. James agrees with the idea that Cody leaving WWE wasn't a big blow. But you're right that it was the first big switch. It definitely changed the perception. AEW fan says, could you see Hangman leaving for WWE? Yes, but not by choice. He is going to be very loyal to AEW, and I get it. He won't get the rub of the green in WWE like he does with AEW. King's Andy wants the Bruiserweight back. Not wrong. AEW fan says, do you think the direction of no storylines, just wrestling will be a big blow to AEW? That's not their direction. AEW still has plenty of storylines. AEW are not just wrestling, they are sports entertainment. Spider-Boss says, could we see Dexter Lumis as Theory's enforcer? Dexter could certainly show Theory the way. James says, I noticed since Cody leaving, TK hasn't been right since. Needs to let Regal and others help so it doesn't have too much pressure on. That's fair, and I think very true, though he wasn't working directly with Cody. Cody, by the time he left AEW, was not really communicating with the actual EVPs or the VP. Pardon me. AEW fan says, do you see Ruby Soho returning back to WWE? No, she's under contract elsewhere. Winter says, a chance Johnny Gargano returns tonight. Everything is on the table. No. Spider-Boss says, when it comes to Sasha news, everyone has to watch Spoiler Warning with Tom freaking Colohue. Thank you, Spider-Boss. That's nice to hear. Also, to be honest, I think I've justified it. I've been in a very rich vein of form when it comes to reports as regards Sasha Banks, and I'm very proud of what we've been able to achieve. Also, please remember, we have 97 people watching right now, and only 40 likes. Please remember to hit that thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't. We are still in a pretty strong run of form when it comes to the growth of the channel. We are now on 1,503 subscribers, which means we've gained 4 in this show. Please, if you haven't already, click subscribe. SBM says, what do you think Triple H will be reporting before SmackDown? I don't think what do you mean by reporting, SBM? I don't really... Could you rephrase the question? I don't understand what you mean by reporting. Michael says the WWE Women's Division on the main roster is going to be loaded, and I'm so excited about that. It already is, mate. It really is, particularly on Raw. Randall said if Mox was to return to WWE, will he go back to Dean? Nope, they're more interested in John Moxley than Dean Ambrose. That's been the case for a while now. Simon, WWE will not be signing Tessa Blanchard under any circumstances. AW fan says rumours of Chelsea and Diona up on WWE needing women's teams. Do you see it? Nope. They don't need women's teams. They've got plenty of women's teams and more women's teams coming up. They don't actually need that many more people. James says he's actually talking to someone else. Joey says, do you think this Dexter Lumis storyline could be connected to Johnny Gargano? Dexter Lumis might be showing Theory the way. Johnny says, will there be an NXT Oceania? Or as it's only Australia and New Zealand, could it be factored into NXT Europe? It would not be factored into NXT Europe. That's a lot of cost for flights. A lot of cost. There's a possibility of an NXT Australia that would be rare. It's more likely it becomes a part of NXT Asia. Ghost says the Usos will not be present at tonight's SmackDown due to prior legal restrictions that keep them from being able to travel outside the country. With that being said, it's safe to say that Roman will be on his own tonight, which hasn't been the case in a long time. He really doesn't need to worry about it. Really doesn't need to worry about that at all. Will says, does Triple H care about TV 14 or was that more of a USA Network idea? It was a dead cat by Vince. he was trying to get USA Network to sign up to it as a way of saying, look, if I stay around, you'll get a better program and I'll give you what you want. But here we are. Spider Boss says Cody leaving AEW could be compared when Jericho left WCW in '99. Yeah, that's a really fair comparison. Primarily because that's when it turned, you know? That's when things shifted. Formath says, thinks we'll see Dean Ambrose and WWE's here? Nope, we will never see Dean Ambrose again. Simon, I don't know who's even in the AEW Trios tournament. Michael says, is it true that Jimmy can't travel to the UK because of his DUI? Yep. Four Slot Gamer, that's a name. I like that. Don't know what you mean by Ring of Honor, though. AEW says, things like this week prove Vince right, not being interested in bringing CM Punk back, doesn't it? Vince McMahon was incredibly interested in bringing CM Punk back. Vince McMahon reached out to CM Punk on several occasions to offer him a contract. Vince has not been proven right. Not at all. AEW fan says you should make a shirt Tom was right, deal with it. I don't want to be that egotistical. Like, I appreciate you saying that, but I just don't want to be that egotistical. True, Zandy. Very true. Yeah, I can't pronounce it, noob. No chance. Jared says, do you see Dexter helping Theory to successfully cash in? Dexter may be showing Theory the way. Wiggly says, have you been to any of the wrestling conventions before, Tom? How far would you travel to go to one? Pretty much anywhere in the UK. We'll be fine with that. Maybe a little further afield. Wrestling conventions I'm definitely interested in. I don't know if I'd necessarily get a table. I'm not a big deal. But I could try. Failing that, we could all just go to a pub. That'd be nice. Sean says, when a wrestler comes to WWE and they don't have a social media account, are they told to make one, or does WWE make it for them? Used to be that WWE made it for them and maintained all of their passwords. Nowadays, they're told to make one. SBM says, I hope the way means a character change for Theory. They love Theory's character backstage in WWE. Seems unlikely. Wiggly says, was just watching The Wrestler, such a fantastic but depressing movie to watch, much like wrestling. Simon says, do you think Impact Wrestling will sign any of the released NXT UK wrestlers? Yep. AW fan says, anyone is in limbo, it's Lacey Evans. Yeah, they're still trying to work out what to do with her. She's in very much creative hiatus. Forcelock says, what I meant by that is it's basically Ring of Honor all over again because they are releasing all their talent. Gotcha. Okay. I see where you're coming from and I see what you mean. Moneymaker says, it seems to me like Tony K doesn't care about the women's division from the way he books it. He doesn't book it. It's mostly booked by Kenny. Wiggly says, AW is going down the pan because they dumped Hikaru Shida for in the women's title picture. Sure. Ah, Simon, I remember you now. I remember you. Welcome back. Wiggly says, is Ronda coming to Clash? I've noticed she's been removed from the posters. Not to my knowledge, no. However, she may find a way to get herself in. Joey says, do you think NXT EU will sign most of the indie wrestlers in Europe? Nope. Not most, but some. Will says, is there a plan to change Max Dupree back to LA Knight? Nope, no plan whatsoever. Thomas says, personally would like to see Gargano return with Rebel Heart. Wouldn't mind him showing me the way. Wiggly says, Tom, I will DM you about an event I might be hosting later in the year. Would love you to come and others too. If it goes ahead, admission would be free. Call me interested. Johnny says, Tom would love to hear your perspective on the NXT expansion. Some people think it will hurt the indies. I don't believe so if done right. Also, cheers for not hiding all your info behind a paywall. You're very welcome, Johnny. I make a point of that, and it's one of the reasons I'm not really at the big boy table, because I report things that are behind other people's paywall. Not because I go to their paywall, but because I'm just reporting the news. And for me, that's me confirming what they've reported, but they don't like it. For example, I think last week, I reported about Bray Wyatt and the deal being made there. I put out a pretty long video about this exact situation. 4 days later, it popped up behind a very selective paywall, and I was not credited in any way, shape or form. So you had to pay for news that was available for free here 4 days beforehand. Spread the word, guys. You get the news for free here. As regards my perspective on the NXT expansion, I think NXT UK was already NXT Europe. I think they're just getting rid of people that they don't think will succeed. And I think in the near future, we are going to get an NXT Europe that's incredibly similar to NXT UK. It's just somewhere else. Bad Boss says, some of my friends didn't believe me when I told them Punk may not last long in AEW. Literally the week he debuted, I said he's a flight risk. I don't see him sticking around long. Forcelock says, I was told that Vince was very hands-on with Lacey Evans. Yes, he was very directly involved in the character of Lacey Evans. Hence, the real American Lacey Evans. AEW says, biggest missed opportunity, Austin Hogan or take a Sting. Austin Hogan didn't have any chemistry. I think Rock Hogan was the better option, to be honest. Austin was never long-term. The only reason he lasted as long as he did was because injuries kept him out of focus. He burnt too bright. The Rock was long-term, even though in the end, also burnt too bright. Kieran says, pub sounds a better idea. Conventions are usually full of people who don't wear deodorant. Yes, but we could be the gang who do. Wiggly says, silly question about how his impact surviving in all of this. By not paying too much, by living within their means, and by doing the best they can. Essentially, good management. SPM says, Lacey Evans was trolling Sasha Banks on IG. Heel behaviour. Hopefully she will stay heel. Likely so, yes, but they don't want to make her quite so nationalist. AW says, Alba Fry still being called up, and can we go back to Kaylee Ray? Fire. I always say Fry. Alba Fire is a name she's used previously. She's absolutely fine with it. She don't really care much whether she goes back to the previous name, so it's unlikely. Will says, it is funny, a lot of news you reported a year ago is coming to fruition and people are reporting it like you never said it. Yep. I don't know what else to say about it. Other than, be sure to hit like, subscribe, and go tell your friends. I try my best to report the news here. Without clickbait, without hyperbole, without the garbage that so many people do to try and put themselves over. That's what I try to do. So I really appreciate you saying that, Will. Quite a lot of people right now are saying that, and warms my heart a little bit. Simon says, will WWE or AEW sign CJ Perry? There is interest in a return for Lana, but not as a wrestler. Wiggly says, is there any point to NXT? It is a developmental brand. There is a reason for it. The reason it flops is because with a name like NXT, we all know straight away it's like the wrestling equivalent of the conference. Giving the brand a new name and identity, but still being the place for rising talent, might be a good thing. I wouldn't necessarily say so. I like the identity that they've got, but the new identity they have is NXT 2.0, and people hate it because it's different. Spider-Boss says, I like the interaction between Ronda and Shayna on SmackDown last week. I also very much enjoyed that. BC says, Banks or Bayley? Interesting. Now, from a purely wrestling perspective, I actually think Bayley is a better wrestler, personally. Thank you very much for subscribing, BC. I do think Bayley's actually the better wrestler. She sells a little bit more firm as well, in that she's a little bit more clinical in receiving offense. But Sasha Banks has an element of star power that Bayley simply does not have, at least not yet. Wiggly says, will Impact be going on tour again? When they can afford it, yes. Austin says, who do you think wins the 5-way tonight? I think Madcap Moss is in for a shout. James says, look at it this way. Trips in charge, anything possible, get ready for a banger. Anything is on the table. Sai says, 4 things Tom gets right, other than the news. No clickbait, no paywall, no trying to be a gimmick, and no goofy pose on the Go Live thumbnail graphic. Yeah, I keep getting told, you should put yourself on there. The news speaks for itself. I don't need to get over. I'm just the guy who's sharing the news. The news is what's important. Moxley says, one of the biggest mistakes in WWE history is Triple H winning the 2016 Battle Royal instead of Dean Ambrose. I do agree with that. Moxley says, but yes, if this event I'm organising goes ahead, I'll try to advertise it on the Discord. Trust me, you'll all want to come to this. We'll see how it goes. Right Twix, good name. Says NXT Europe will be a monopoly for an entire continent. OTT, Rev Pro, Progress, ICW, WXW are in trouble. They are, but to be fair, no more than they were. Joey says, do you think Giovanni Vinci will get called up and reunite with Volta? Eventually, yes. Moxie, yes, there will be a SmackDown watch party. James says, I was a big AEW fan when Punk walked through them curtains. I knew it was done. Wiggly says, with regards to an NXT rebrand, maybe it's time to bring back WCW or ECW. Nope. So many people keep reaching back. Just reaching back. And we need to bring things back from the past. No, you need to push the future. This is one of the reasons people don't give a shit about Hulk Hogan or Goldberg anymore. Look ahead. Let's get something new. Ah, yes. I remember those reports, Spider Boss. The plane ride. That's very true, Wiggly. I agree with that. Hello again, Hassan. Wiggly says, for me, the most hilarious skit Bayley ever did was when she feigned sympathy for Rey Mysterio losing his eye. Oh, I remember that storyline. That was weird. Jane thinks Sasha is the best seller in the women's division. I do not. James says, AEW has become everything they never wanted to become, was more a threat when given ones the opportunity to be seen. Like Cody said at Mania Presser, he didn't have to sign all. He didn't have to sign all. There is still, to be clear, I'm not in any way sitting here and saying AEW is done, because they're not. But I do think they need to rethink their strategy a little bit and just accept their place in wrestling. They're not competition. That's okay. AW fan says, Owens is in Montreal. Might he reunite with a friend tonight? Maybe. It'd be fun. Spider-Boss says Sasha's a great sports entertainer, can have a good match of anyone. I agree with that. Cole Mario says, any new news on Sasha? Not at this point in time, Cole. When I do have more news, I will share it. But the latest news was on Monday on this channel. There was news that you may quite like. You might want to check that out. Just click on the rest of my videos and you will find one about Sasha from Monday. Also about Naomi, by the way. Austin says Moxley hasn't re-signed. Not yet. You are alone in that, Wiggly. Simon says reports say Deonna Purrazzo is going to sign a new contract with Impact Wrestling. Is it true? I can't guarantee it, but that's what Impact think. James says, not that I know of. I know they've been negotiating with Mox. Does have that clause where he can leave anytime after first year. Yep, that's also something that I've reported. Spider-Ball says, your favourite among the four horsewomen? Becky. I've always been a Becky guy. Wiggly says, what if WWE acquired AEW? Then WWE would acquire AEW. I don't know what else you actually want me to say there. Thomas says, do you see WWE replacing the Universal Championship with a new belt anytime soon? Triple H is not a fan of the Universal Championship belt. That is more likely than not at this point. Sorry, I mean, what if WWE acquired the NWA? Well then, Wiggly, WWE would have acquired the NWA. I don't really know what you want me to say about that one. AEW says Hit Row versus Usos down the line. Everything is on the table. You guys have got to realise, right? If you say to me, are we going to see Braun Breaker versus Roman? Maybe. All I can say is maybe. It's not possible to say yes or no. Like, it's wrestling. Maybe. Hector says I didn't watch the original ECW, so it was cool when I learned that Heatwave was an ECW pay-per-view. It was indeed, and it was very sweaty. Joey says, do you think Ilya Dragunov will move to the main roster? Not yet. Spider-Boss says, where do you rank Eddie Guerrero on the all-time great list? I rank him highly. AEW fan says, notice Omega wearing a shirt wrestling? Might he still not be in shape? I wouldn't blame him, to be honest. Michael says, is a SmackDown before Clash going to be taped or live? It is going to be live, which good luck to him. Wiggly says, what's the actual deal with the NWA? Does it actually exist? No, it's purely theoretical and it's in your head. Sean says, Charlotte said on Broken Skull session she can't imagine a world where she doesn't wrestle Sasha or work with Naomi. Nor should she. Spider-Boss says, could we see Gigi Dolan and JC Jane winning today since Natalia is in her hometown? If Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark were booked to win, then Toxic Attraction will win. It's that simple. Johnny says, if Hunter does hate the Universal title, didn't say hate. Didn't say hate. If a new title is brought in to replace it, it's most likely going to be the big gold belt. Nope, it's not, because once again, that's reaching back into history when they'd rather do something new. Wiggly says, I still think the main event for WrestleMania 40 should be the WWE Champ versus the Universal Champ versus the NXT Champ versus the Royal Rumble winner. Yeah, nah. Thomas says, do you think that WWE would be forced to change the name of War Games as a result of Peacock not wanting that name? No. No, that wouldn't be an issue. And AW says, fan says, I think Raquel and Aaliyah versus Kai and Sky the finals. Agree? I do. Okay, Wiggly, first I've heard about that personally, but I'll look into it a bit further. I've enjoyed Roman's run, Spider-Boss. I've enjoyed it. I am going to wrap it up there. We've been going for 70 minutes. We did peak at 103 viewers. We've had 51 likes, and we've picked up a selection of new subscribers. We will be live for the SmackDown watch party later on tonight, so please do come and check that out. But in the meantime, I'm going to say a huge thank you. Hope to see you all out for the watch party or for Spoiler Warning on Monday. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. I'll see you all very soon.